Hello and welcome back to a new video on the channel, guys. So today is going to be a little bit different. We're not doing any Rust content. We're going to be doing some TypeScript. Yes, TypeScript. So yeah, I went ahead and made my own HTTP wrapper around the Fetch API in the browser and Node. And yeah, I'll go ahead and walk you through how everything works and the code in a second, and also some examples. The reason that I wrote this was mainly just as a learning experience, and also because the Fetch API natively isn't that intuitive in my opinion, especially when using TypeScript. Now I know there's Axios, and I know many other people have written their own, and I'm not trying to really compete with them. I just wanted to write my own version of this to learn and to get some practice. So yeah, but if you guys do want to actually use this library, I did publish it on npm, so you guys can go ahead and install it. Now there was a few naming conflicts, and the original name to this package was like zfetch because I just thought it sounded cool. um Oops, iMessage. Oh my god. Sorry about that. But yeah, the original package was zfetch. I just thought the name sounded cool. But there's like already a zfetch on npm, and I actually checked, but I didn't realize that when you do the npm publish command, it actually checks for similarities in names. So even though when I checked the search, no exact name came up, it was a similar package. So yeah, then I tried typefetch because I thought, TypeScript and better type safety, right? But then that was taken too. So, I just gave up and I used my GitHub username because that's kind of what my npm account is. So yeah, that got Jamal. But yeah, you guys can just run this command to install it, or use Node if you want. But the main features of this library is we have the basic GET request, obviously. Basic methods for HTTP request, automated content handling. So, you can just pass in a flag. Where is it? Like right here, you can pass in the type, and then you can say JSON, and it's not that much less code than, putting in the header yourself, but it's a little bit, and it's a little more easier. And also the types are auto completed. So yeah, we have that. And then we have retries. So you can set up the amount of retries your fetch request does automatically. Also caching for get requests is built in, and debug logging, which this project has no dependencies right now. It's using straight up just raw like node. Um, Only dependencies in this project are dev dependencies. So the logging is kind of basic. I'll probably add some better logging later if I feel like it. No promises though. Um, but yeah, let's go over like kind of what the code looks like. So tfetch client is the name of it. So tfetch client, and you import it from the package, and you create a new client. Originally when I was coding this, I started doing like a static client, but then I thought, what if someone wants to make multiple clients? And so static might not be the best. So yeah. And I went with classes just because it's easy to encapsulate a bunch of logic into this, one body. Like just mentally, it makes a lot of sense versus just using functions. But yeah, so you can pass in the debug true, the retries, you can say how many times, and this count is for each fetch request individually. So every time a fetch request is sent, if it fails, it'll retry 3 times, and then the delay for the retries. This is useful if you want to retry a fetch, but you don't want to be hit a rate limit, so you can do a delay for like 5 seconds, maybe, or 10 or 20, whatever. And then also on retry is a callback that is called um, before, or no, sorry, after. Oh no. This is called before the retry actually happens. So I was thinking like maybe if you had some kind of external logging service, or who knows, maybe if you have some kind of logger, or you just want to run some logic before you fetch another request, you can simply put that here. I should probably have something where like maybe on the retry, maybe in this side of this callback, you can like maybe cancel the entire request if some other logic is checked. I don't know, that's kind of complex. Like I said, it's like almost 1 a.m right now, and I've just been writing this straight for like 2.5 hours. So who cares? But here's the cache options as well. Caching is only for GET requests because it's the only type of request that doesn't modify any data, only reads. So obviously, and then yeah, you can just set you know the max amount of time something should be cached, which by default I believe is 5 minutes. So yeah, but you can always override that. And if it's disabled, then obviously it doesn't cache anything at all. And by default, caching is disabled. And also retries are disabled by default because I don't think they should be enabled by default. And yeah, here's just an example. So we have a type, a post, and then I'm using the JSON placeholder API as an example. And so here's the basic syntax, right? You you can extract the data and the error if you wish, and you can await client.get. You pass the generic for type safety on data, so it knows what type of data to get back or that's expected. And yeah, you pretty much just do whatever you want with the data. And same thing with post. The data returned is whatever you expect from this post, and you can pass a generic as well, but just for the example, I didn't add it in. Um, but if your post request returns, a status code like success or something like that, you can simply add the generic and then the data will reflect that. And then down here in this data, this is like the request body, and you can simply just pass in anything you want. And this is automatically sterilized, which I'll show you guys the code later. So you don't have to do like JSON.stringify or anything like that to pass the body. Um, and there are different con content types supported. Ooh, I keep burping a little bit. It's JSON, text, blobs, I believe, and there's like one other, I forget. Um, and then yeah, just put request right here. Pretty much same thing as like post, but for updating things. Um, and then deletes, right? So yeah, and here's the configuration options. Here is the API, and then testing. We have some tests to run. So let's go ahead and dig into some code. So yeah, we're just file, boom, boom. All right, so let me make this a little bigger for you guys. What should I show you guys first? So let's see. Let me just make sure that. So I'm using jest just to run all the tests. Okay, we actually have test failing. Why is that? Oh, it's because of the name. Yeah, I forgot to update the names of these. Like actually, I don't feel like doing that right now. I'll do that later. Um, anyways, though, the code works. I swear the test worked before I changed the name from cfetch to typefetch. Anyways, let's get into some code though. So this entire library is just one like file. I'll probably extract it into different files for better readability and maintainability. But right now, like I said, I was just coding this and doing it until I felt like stopping. So yeah, but yeah, here's the config. It's just an interface pretty much. We have a URL or string, which is used for the HTTP methods. So, which I pretty much just copied this from the internal like browser fetch, which uses URL or string. And then the result type, which is kind of similar to Rust, what Rust has. Um, it takes in a type of T, which is anything you want, and then it returns an error. And this is mainly used in our handle request function, which I'll show you as we get down in the code, to create more, in my opinion, better errors, better error handling without all the manual checking if result is okay and all that kind of stuff. And then yeah, here's the content types. Here's all the supported types, which are the common ones. I'm not sure if there's more than this, honestly, but I yeah, not really sure. So yeah, and then this is like basically the object that is passed. So if we go back over here, you can see the type and data. That is pretty much what this is. So content wrapper, right? And then we have the cache, which this is all just the types basically for TypeScript to make it happy, which is whatever data you have, and then timestamp. So timestamp is used to expire the cache if it's invalid. And then yeah, just a few other things. So here's the meat of it, right? So we have this public read-only config. So once the config is set, it can be read by external you know, external resources, but it cannot be modified. It's read only. You know, it's pretty much expected that you should only set the config once on initialization. Um, yeah, so you know, maybe I'll add some kind of like setter and getter setter for the config so that you can set it. Who knows? But yeah, then we have a cache, which is pretty much just a private cache, and it's a map of strings and then cache entry. Um, and yeah, so pretty much just creating everything in the constructor, running the debug, which as you can see, things are not named correctly. So I'll probably go through and you know, fix all these little naming bugs and all that stuff, or naming errors, and I'll publish a new version of the package tomorrow or something. But I have work soon, so I'll be going to sleep after I record this. But yeah, here's the get method. So it performs a get request. You can pass in optional headers as well. So get request and delete request um, usually don't need headers, right? Because you're mostly, if you're deleting something, you're mostly just using a URL, not really passing in a body or anything. Um, so, you know, this is optional. And then what we do is we create a cache key, right? So we get a cache key based on the URL. And how this works, if we jump to it, is we basically um, stringify the headers and we stringify the URL and we basically combine them into a string and we just return that, right? And that basically is what's saved in the map, right? So we pretty much save that to the map. And then we also, the data we save in the map is the result of the fetch call, right? So if caching is enabled, then we check the cache. If there's a response from the cache, then we simply return that data. That's pretty simple, right? That's how it works. Um, I think this is pretty cool though, because it basically stops you from having to make multiple requests to the same resource if the URL is the same. So imagine you have something like, you know, API slash user slash 10, and then you have, you know, some data in your headers, whatever, about the user, maybe like the authorization or API key, right? Um, yeah, if that's cached and everything's the same on a GET request, there's no need to really fetch the same data. I don't see the point. Um, so yeah, then here's the calling the fetch actual API, which we pass in the method, headers, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, this just checks if the cache, then we simply save this data to the cache and return the result. And then yeah, we can see the handle request right here, which is an internal function which also handles the retry logic. So, you know, pretty much just checking the delay, checking the retries, while loop. We call the request function, and then if not okay, we basically create an error, HTTP error, and we throw it because this should error. Um, yeah. Actually, now that I'm looking at this, maybe they shouldn't throw and just return because, like, yeah, this is actually better. Cause like it shouldn't throw, cause what's the point of returning the error in the result type if it's not actually returning? Yeah. See, this is also a reason why it's good to like, well, personally, I like going through my code like this and talking it out loud and explaining it to myself because then it makes me think about things like, oh wait, that doesn't actually make sense, or why am I doing it this way? So, yeah, I think that's better. If it errors, no data, and then we should just create a new error with the response text. Cool. Um, and then yeah, we just cast a response type to T and then return the data and there is no error. We catch the error, we do a retry. Um, yeah, on retry, do the retry, this does sleep, cool. Yeah, so we simply just, you know, sleep for a certain amount of seconds, which is whatever delay the config has. And if there's no more attempts, then we just say null and return any errors, right? Um, And then yeah, the I guess the error message here would just be request failed after max retries. Um, get cached key, already talked about that. Save cache, pretty self-explanatory. Get from cache. Yeah, you know this just checks if the cache expired or not, and if it did, then it's just null. If not, then we get whatever type of data the user wants. Um, that sleep, promise set timeout, pretty cool. So here's the headers, which is mainly just used for the content type wrapper. So it pretty much just returns whatever string um, that the header will use. So it just avoids you having to write all this stuff, which is not too much code, but it just makes things a little simpler in my opinion. And then here's the sterilization method. So if it's JSON, we just JSON stringify the body.data. If it's a form, then we just simply, string. Well, we grab the body and we just simply create a URL out of that. Um, yeah. And then text, we just convert whatever data it is, no matter what, to just a string. And then blob is kind of like any non-JavaScript raw data, right? And yeah, here's the debug. So that's pretty much how the code works. I hope that was interesting. Um, yeah, that's how the code works. So let me actually try out the client, I guess. So I'm gonna just create a directory real quick. Samples. Let's do index.js. Yes, let me just do, yeah, and let me do, let me copy the code. Um, here's the moment of truth, right? Cool. So we got our code in here. We have our dependency. Let's go ahead and do import t fetch. Okay, maybe I don't think I have modules enabled, do I? No, I don't think so. Type module. All right. All right, now let's try it. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. Yep. Let's do that. Let's just keep the defaults. Client dot get. Oh, yep. Let's do that. All right, cool. Let's use async. So I'm gonna just do async function main, and let's do like that. Cool. So let's do. All right. Let's do. All right. So, um, okay. Actually, we don't have type support. I just realized that we don't have types. So this is any. Um, yeah, that actually kind of sucks. But let's just. Oops. Let's just test this out real quick. Console.log res.data. Yeah. Okay. Data. Let's do like that. All right. So if I run this code, um, yeah, cool. Look, it works. User ID, body, all that. Yep, literally works. And then actually it won't cache because the program doesn't continuously run. But yeah, that's pretty much how easy it is to get set up. And this isn't JavaScript, so if I use TypeScript, I could obviously add some types. Um, But yeah, this is pretty much like a 20-minute video now, so I'm not gonna go any farther. But I hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys do want to try out the library, feel free to leave a star, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, all that good jazz. If you guys see any bugs, other than the ones I've said in this video, feel free to make a pull request if you wish. And yeah, I appreciate everyone watching. Hope you have a blessed day. Later.